You hear your stomach calling.
It's shouting!
Burrito! Burrito! Burrito!
Let's gather our ingredients and build this the Aussie way every day. Make it wild, make it savory, make it loud, just like Aussie would. No utensils needed, scarf it down and build another one. Have 900, just like Aussie. Aussie's October burrito.
Hear your stomach calling.
Aussie's October burrito.
Hear your stomach calling.
Anticipating October, the leaves are falling, the air is cool, and I am at peace. Watching horror movies, eating Mellocrim pumpkins and candy corn this time of year makes me feel alive. Decorating my home and yard, seeing all the little trick or treaters in their costumes, calling out trick or treat to my neighborhood. Anticipating October, the leaves are falling, the air is cool. I love this time of year. Decorating my home and yard, seeing all the little trick or treaters in their costumes, calling out trick or treat to my neighborhood. Anticipating October, the leaves are falling, the air is cool. I love this time of year. I love this time of year. I love this time of year.
Howdy, gang, and welcome to just something I just wanted to throw out here. Anticipating October, because we're getting in deep into, or starting to get in deep into September, and that gets me thinking about all things October, including, and I hope this doesn't seem blasphemous to people, but including, I have to say it, my all time favorite holiday is Halloween. And I think a lot of people feel that way about the month of October and also about Halloween. Although we might, be a little bit shy about saying, hey, it's my favorite holiday of the year because Halloween, um, this isn't going to be all about Halloween specifically. It's going to be about all the things that I like about October. But over the many years that Halloween has been celebrated, Halloween has gotten a bad rap at certain times of being a evil holiday, celebrating all things dark and spooky and underground. Sometimes that doesn't sit right with people. But I also think about too the times when I was a kid and I wasn't dressing as Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or whoever. My mom was dressing me as a cute little ghost or a clown or whatever. That those were the years when she dressed me up. And I remember the years of her taking me and my brother out trick or treating, going house to house. How many people remember going house to house for trick or treating? I don't think a lot of kids get that experience now. Um, and I'm not saying, people have heard me talk about how traditional trick or treating has kind of fell by the wayside over the years. And, how I say that, that you can't call a Halloween party at some schools a Halloween party anymore. It's got to be a fall festival. A lot of communities have turned to trunk of treats. In my small hometown, we had what was called, not only did we have trunk of treats at the churches, but we had trail of treats, which was at our local Vastwood Park. And, those things are all good. I'm not putting them down, but I will never, ever forget the fun, the anticipation of waiting to be able to trick or treat, and mom and or dad. Hey, Candace. Candace, by the way, I didn't ask you, but this could be an unofficial Friday Foolish. If you felt like coming on here, I could, I'd be happy to put the link in here or send the link to you. I just wasn't know. I just didn't. I can't even talk today. I just didn't know if you would be free or not, and I hated to bother you today. And this was kind of a last minute thing that I thought about doing. But to get back to trick or treating, and when I was a kid, and when my brother was a kid, we will never get that time back. You might be able to share that time with your own kids, but we will never get that time back where we were actually able to do it. And it's just sad to me that our country, our world has become where people are so mistrustful of even their neighbors that we have to not isolate ourselves, but we have to be kind of enclosed with celebrating. And I would love for us to be able to get back to the old traditional types of trick-or-treating. Now, I know there are kids. I think Candace takes her and Chris, they take their son out trick-or-treating. They may also take him to things like trunk or treats and stuff like that as well. But I just think it's sad for communities that just don't have it anymore. And I spent a lot of years, many, many years, handing out candy at my granny's house when my granny got too old she didn't want to give it up, but she just didn't feel well enough to keep getting up and going to the door and giving kids candy, but she still wanted to have that available. So what happened is I, sometime after graduation from high school, I may have did it a little bit when I was still in high school, but I would buy the candy and I would have little toys and stuff like that, and I would hand out stuff to the kids. And I do that now that I'm, married. Steve never did do that, and I'm not saying that Steve's a bad guy. It was just something he never did, except one year by accident. He he had bought some candy, bless his heart. He had bought some candy just for him, and we were dating at this time. And he said that he had, I guess, inadvertently left his door open and or his porch light on, and the kids started coming up and knocking on the door saying trick or treat, wanting candy, and he felt bad, so he gave them what candy he had. And I said, well, you're a good man, Steve, for doing that, because that was something my mom always used to get upset about when she was a young parent and would take us out trick or treating. And there were people, she would take us to my granny's neighborhood, and we would stop off. Uncle Bill, well, okay, traditionally, Steve didn't hand out Halloween candy. And he leaves it up to me now. Um, and so, traditionally I do it. And Halloween's on a Friday now, so maybe Steve will help me out. There have been some times where he has been around, and one time he scared the crap out of this little girl, and her parents just laughed. There was alcohol involved in that, where he chased this girl. He literally ran out the front door and chased this girl all the way to her car, the car where her parents were at, and I think she dropped her candy, everything else. Candace, you say, "Oh, that's okay. I worked late tonight and just got home. If I was presentable to be on camera, I would definitely." Well, Candace, honey, I'm sure you're presentable, but I understand. I understand that. Um, but I'm gonna, since I do have a few people in here, um, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in there. Now, as I've said before, um, I'm not trying to be, like mean or anything like that. But if I don't know you, and I have been burnt in the past, if I can't get some kind of information about you and can make sure that you're not a child trying to come on here, then more than likely, even if you come backstage, I'm not going to add you. I'm definitely not going to add children because, folks, I just want to be above board um, with all that stuff. And, we're mostly, as far as I know, adults in here when I do my streams. My streams are generally not designed for kids. Now, when I get the Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel stuff up, yeah, that's going to be more kid friendly. But I haven't got off my lazy duff and actually done that yet. Um, so, but I put it up there in case some of you guys and gals want to join me and talk about all these fun things in October, not just Halloween, but anything about October that you like. Hey, John, you say I'm ready to rewatch the Halloween series and shit on the mask on part 4 thing. Well, okay, let me ask you this, John. Is the part 4 mask or the part 5 mask the worst? I think the part 5 mask is the worst. If Uncle Bill is still in here, I'd love to hear his thoughts on it. Guys, I hate to, but I thought I had enough caffeine. I'm going to go get a refresher on my Mountain Dew here, and hopefully I won't lose the people that I've got in here, and I'll be right back, okay? All right, gang, I'm back. John, you say, I'll be honest, I kind of like part 5. It's so odd. The mask is definitely bad in both, though. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like, for me, the original mask, and I even like the part 2 mask. and I have actually gotten one where it's got the bleeding eye holes where Dr. Loomis shoots Michael Myers in the eyeballs at near the end of Halloween 2. But anyway, before I get really deep into this, though, I kind of wanted to give an overview, and I'm going to get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. And oh, I got a message from somebody. But I was just making sure it wasn't somebody wanting me to send them the link or anything like that. But I totally forgot what I was talking about here. Lord. Well, I was talking about I was going to get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. I'll admit it, folks. I didn't get drunk or anything, but me and Steve went to Veronica's Mexican restaurant here in Louisville a little bit earlier this afternoon, and we had never been there, but I know Candace watches Goodall's Country Kitchen. I know she watches Goodall and him going around to different places and stuff. Well, I guess quite recently he had went to Veronica's Mexican restaurant. I can't even get my words out right. Veronica's Mexican restaurant, and him and a couple of friends of his had went over to the one. There's actually a couple of them in Louisville right now, and I think they may be building another one. But I wanted to go to the original one on Preston Highway. So Steve relented. He was going to take us to the one over on Poplar Level. But I said, I'd really like to go to the original one. The restaurant looks really nice. It's a converted old Ponderosa building. And so he said, all right. So we went, and I wanted to get this. I swear to you, this drink was like this big, and it looked like it was in a blender. The part of the blender that you actually blend the stuff up in, the cup or whatever you want. It was that big, folks, and that was my alcoholic drink I had. Now, granted, there's some left. There's a whole cup full of it left because I knew if I drank that whole thing, then it could be bad. And Steve was worried about me. He said, I don't know about that, Dana. So I said, I wonder if they'll let me take this and put it in a to-go cup. And Steve said, I don't think so. I don't think they'll let you take that alcohol out of here unless you ordered it to go. And it was obvious that I wasn't going to be able to drink all that, or Steve would have been carrying me or dragging me out of that restaurant. So he asked the waiter when the waiter came by and said, could I get you anything else, or you need anything else ready for the check, whatever. And he said, well, we like two to-go trays. And he said, could we get a to-go cup for that? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he brought out a big styrofoam cup, and we poured the rest of that in there. And it's in the refrigerator now. Steve was going to get, there was this thing called a margarita flight that had 4 different margaritas in it. 4 different glasses with a different flavor of margarita. And Steve likes his frozen. He doesn't like them on the rocks. And they said that their machine to make the frozen ones was broken. So they only had them on the rocks. So Steve opted to get a Coke, but me being the overindulger that I have to be all the time, I got this thing. But I tell you, if you ever come to Louisville and you go to Veronica's Mexican restaurant, just be wary. I think this thing's called a La Chua or something like that. And not only was it an alcoholic drink, but it had a stick with a spicy gummy something or other, and it had like these sour gummy worms all on top of it. I'll have to put a picture of it up on Facebook a little bit later so people can see what it looked like. It sounds like some kind of space age something or other that's kind of unbelievable to uh, imagine. There's something on my glasses. You never know what's going to happen when I get on here to do a stream or a video or what have you, folks. All right. But to get back to the task at hand there, let's see, Candace sent me a message. Candace, hon, if you're still in here, I promise I'll get to that message whenever I get off of this stream. But I want to tell you a few of the things I got coming up over the weekend, in the coming week, even on up to October 26th, which is a Sunday before Halloween. And let's just talk about that. I'm going to have a special movie munchies in celebration of not only Ozzy Osbourne, but of the upcoming Halloween season for 2025. And I'm going to be doing Ozzy's October Burrito. And for those of you that were in here early enough, you saw the little promo that I have for that. And I've done my research. I'm going to try to recreate the Ozzy burrito, which was the burrito that Ozzy would order when he went to Chipotle, which apparently was his favorite place to get burritos. So you're still here, no rush. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that Candace knew this. When I get off here, I'll listen to her message and get back to her. Me and Candace usually talk every day, several times a day, actually. I would ask Uncle Bill if he wants to come on here, but every time I ask him, he's a busy man. That guy's a busy man, so he doesn't get on here like he used to in days gone past. But what else we got coming up? That's going to be October 26th. It will be a pre-recorded video, so I'm not going to be live. I don't do my movie munchies live anymore. There may come a day where I may do a special movie munchies and make it live, but they just got to be too hectic getting the camera equipment set up and all that stuff, getting my phone set up as a camera so I could have 2 different cameras and all that. And, if something goes wrong with what you're making, it's better not to be live. I've had to learn that the hard way. I didn't have any really big disasters when I was doing them live, but it's just a lot easier to do them as a pre-recorded video and then edit them together and put it that way. If you have any snafus, you can edit it together, make it nice and neat, and put it out for everybody. So that'll be October 26th. That video is going to drop at some point that day. I've got a whole lineup of stuff coming up in the coming week. And I figured out, thank goodness, I looked at the new work schedule for the late Fridays and the Saturdays. I found out I'm working next Saturday, which kind of is a bummer, but at least I just have to work a few hours. And I didn't have a late Friday coming up until, guess what? Halloween. And I had already asked off on PTO. So rather than go into a rigmarole with my boss, I just worked with someone to get switched. And so I'm working November 7th, and they're going to work my Halloween, because there was no way, after months of, I scheduled this months ago to be off, got it approved, and then bam, they put me on a late Friday right on Halloween. But the good thing about that is I thought I was going to have to work 2 late Fridays in a row. I thought I was going to have to work September, what was it? September 26th and October 3rd. No, I'm not going to have to. So I won't be working a late Friday until November the 7th. So I'm going to probably be switching around the Evil Dead Chick's Hideous Halloween Slumber Party. And it won't be the 17th. It'll probably be on October 10th. And then I will get to do Evil Dead Chick's Slasher Fest the first Friday of October. So I'm going to be changing that up. So be sure you stay on the lookout for that change in day for Evil Dead Chick's Hideous Halloween Slumber Party. And we're going to be watching Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 3. It's going to be a triple threat night for Evil Dead Chick's Hideous Halloween Slumber Party. But what else do I got coming up? Well, Sunday, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we've got a special live called A Sunday in September. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of movies, primarily horror, that I like to watch on a lazy Sunday afternoon. And if you want to join me for that, like I said, it's going to be this Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll just get in here and we'll hang out and all that good stuff. Monday will be another Celluloid Trash. The Last Shark and The Last Slumber Party will be the movies that I'll be talking about. Tuesday will be VHS Overload, Fave Horror VHS covers from 1986. Wednesday will be another horror movie rewind, and we're going to be talking about all the goofs and trivia that I can dig up on Halloween 2. That is the original Halloween 2. Thursday will be They're All Messed Up, and I'll be talking about Horror High and Massage Parlor Murders. And so we've also got a watch along coming up. The watch along poll is still up. And so is the favorite rock and roll horror film of all time poll is still up, and you can still vote in it. But the watch along movie choices for Saturday, September 20th are Cujo, Alligator, and Grizzly. We've got an animal theme going this time. So make sure you get your votes in. I'll probably be cutting off voting for this watch along probably this Sunday, unless I forget. So make sure you get your votes in as soon as you can if you want to have some say so in what movie is chosen. And now I'm going to say one more thing, and then we're going to get to talking about anticipating October. So I just want to let you guys and gals know that there are a lot of ways that you can support me and the channel, and not all of them will cost you money. As much as I appreciate the super chats and the super stickers and the $5 or more super chats that people give for the movie roulette, which that is in effect, if you want to do that. As much as I appreciate all those things and people joining my channel and joining the Patreon and all of that, there are several different ways that you can support me in the channel, and they won't cost you a dime. One is by subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the content I'm putting out and you have not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps not only me, but it helps the channel get up into the algorithms of YouTube, whatever the heck that is. I just keep hearing about the algorithms of YouTube and how you need to, get in there. So I promise I won't come and try to minister to you or sell you candy bars and cookies. That's not what it's about. You will not be bothered if you subscribe to the channel. If you want to subscribe and come to every live stream, watch every video I do, that's your prerogative. If you want to watch just a few of them and come to a few of them, that is fine as well. The important thing is that you subscribe. Nobody has to know. You can be completely anonymous, and I'll be totally honest, folks. I generally don't, I look at the numbers. I don't look specifically at who has subscribed. Okay. So there's that. You can also hit the like button on things that you particularly like. Heck, if you like everything, hit that like button on everything you see related to my channel. You can hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming things I've got going on. Okay. And you can also share with friends and family members that you think might enjoy my channel and the content I'm putting out. That costs them nothing. It costs you nothing as well. And those are all things that can greatly help me in my pursuing of getting to my next milestone, which will be 1,000 subscribers. I think I've got 981 now. Hopefully I won't lose anybody, because it seems like when I talk about it, I lose some. And I don't know if it's actually people unsubscribing or YouTube just crapping out, because usually they come back. So no purchase necessary or anything like that. Oh, and also don't forget to head on over to deaditesondeck.com, my horror shop. I got a whole ton of new designs. And if you're not a t-shirt person, folks, you can get most of these designs transferred over to mouse pads, to tote bags, to hats, whatever. Plus, I have blended teas and I have scented candles. Just all kinds of really cool stuff on the site. I'm getting ready to put parody shirts, which are kind of like a horror mashup with different things, on the site as well. So be on the lookout for those. The Nighty Night shirts are on there right now. The Aussie stuff is on there. So, be sure to go over to deaditesondeck.com. Tell them Poe sent you and take a look around. Nothing says that you got to buy anything right off, but take a look around and see what I've got. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start talking. This is going to be kind of like free form loose. Like I say, throw things at the wall and see what sticks. It doesn't really, it has a theme, but it doesn't have a theme. It doesn't have like a lot of structure, like a lot of the streams I do. This was just a fun little kind of one-off thing that I wanted to throw out there, and I was hoping that you guys and gals would enjoy it too. And I've got, like I said, I've got the link in the chat in case somebody wants to join me on here, or you can hang out in the chat and talk about different things if you would prefer. So October, let's just talk a little bit about October. We don't just have to focus on Halloween or horror movies or anything like that. For me, October is a combination of things. It's a feeling. There's a feeling that comes over me as soon as October hits that I know it's October. When I wake up on October 1st, I know it's October. Even if it's blazing hot, which I hope October is not this year, but even if it is blazing hot, I still know it's October. And, I love looking out my front door or looking out the window and seeing the leaves falling and swirling around in the wind. And when we do have those cool, crisp mornings and you get up and you're just like, oh, this is, after a long, hot summer, there's nothing like a crisp, cool October morning or a crisp fall October evening. Those are two things that I just absolutely love. And you can start that at the beginning of October. You don't even have to wait till Halloween, of course, if the weather cooperates. And there's just a smell in the air, too. There's a fall smell in the air. You smell those fall leaves. And as if I don't get enough smelling the fall leaves and smelling pumpkin and all of that when October rolls around. And actually, I seen them. There's this place called Garden Gate which is where you can get, you can get fruits, and they've got a deli, and you can get, Christmas trees at Christmas time, and different plants and stuff in the spring and summer. But they were getting their pumpkins out today. I saw that, and I was like, oh, I love it. It just unlocks something in me that just makes me feel almost renewed. Some people probably think, gee, dang, you're talking about like it's religion or something. No, it's not religion per se. It's just like I said, it's just a feeling that I get. And it's a peaceful feeling for me. May not be for everybody, but it is, and it always has been for me. And as I get older, I need that sense of peace in my life. As I'm sure many of you guys and gals need that peace in your life. And as if I didn't get enough of that scent in the air when I step outside my house, I gotta have the dang wax warmers with the the crisp fall leaves. Better Homes and Gardens has these, the wax melts that you can put in there, and I just eat that stuff up. Plus, I have my own set of fall and Halloween ones that I bought from Amazon that I like to get out, and they've got ones that smell like a pumpkin patch, and just everything in the world that you can think of as far as scents. And Steve, he hates to take me in the store, like to take me into Walmart, and I see the wax melts, and I'll do this any time of the year. And he's like, oh Lord, she's going to the wax melts again. But I love wax melts. I have wax melts upon wax melts upon wax melts. And I have wax warmers all over the house. I kid you not. So that is something, the sense that you get. Something else I like to do in September and October is bake bread. I get the baking bread bug every year around this time and on into October. And two of my favorite breads to bake are apple bread and this marbled cinnamon swirl bread. And I just absolutely love those. And I make them sugar free too. So if anybody wants the recipe that I use and what the sugar substitute that I use, then hit me up online. I'll be glad to give those recipes to you. If you like to cook and bake and all that good stuff. So that's something else I like to do in September and October. I haven't got my bread baking supplies yet, but I need to. And even though I'm diabetic, folks, and I wouldn't recommend any diabetic, imbibing these too much. Mellow cream pumpkins, folks. And now, some people might say, mellow cream pumpkins, I like candy corn. Well, I like candy corn too. But I'm a sucker when it comes to mellow cream pumpkins. In fact, I wish I had me some right now. And I may see if we're supposed to go to the movies tomorrow. We're going to see the new Conjuring movie. So I'm going to try to do a Highway to Hell for that, by the way, folks. I still need to put up the Highway to Hell for weapons. And I will, but hopefully I can remember to do a Highway to Hell with me and Steve going to see the new Conjuring film tomorrow. So while we're out, I'm going to see if Steve will stop me somewhere so I can get me some mellow cream pumpkins. So, candy's a big thing with me. Even though I'm diabetic, I still have my fair share of candy. I try to be, conscious of it. I try to not overdo it. But you, more than likely, the closer it gets to Halloween, you will see me on these streams eating a few mellow cream pumpkins here and there. for some reason, I like the mellow cream pumpkins. Although I like candy corn, I like the mellow cream pumpkins better because they're sweeter, for one thing, and they just got, I don't know, it's a very addictive flavor or taste for me that I just every year, it's like me and Easter and licorice, black licorice jelly beans. And I can hear people going, oh, because I take after my granddaddy with that, folks, of liking black licorice. I always have. And mom said my granddaddy, her dad, was probably the only one in the family that liked that black licorice. And apparently I inherited that love of black licorice. But just like I have to have black jelly beans, I'll eat the multicolored jelly beans too. I especially like spiced jelly beans. Regular, better than the regular old garden variety jelly beans, but I'll eat any of them. But just like I love those black licorice jelly beans at Easter time, I gotta have mellow cream pumpkins multiple times during the fall and Halloween season. I just have to. Um, I'm also a sucker for chocolate. I know, I used to think everybody loved chocolate, you know. And then I came to realize that even now, there's a lot of kids that don't like chocolate. I'm like, what the heck? My own nephews, they're not big on chocolate, but they prefer things like Skittles and stuff, fruit flavor stuff. But you know what? To each their own. I don't have a problem with it. It really shocked me because I thought everybody loved chocolate. Growing up, I thought everybody loved chocolate. It seemed like everybody in my family, my household did. um, and Steve loves chocolate, and I love chocolate. Steve's particularly partial to peanut butter and chocolate, like Reese's cups or something like that. And so when I get those for the trick or treaters, I kind of almost have to hide them or stand by there to slap his hand every time he tries to get them. Because if I let him go, I won't have any for the trick or treaters. So, um, you gotta. Steve's a nut when it comes to chocolate and peanut butter stuff. I'll tell you that. But I like my fair share of chocolate and peanut butter candy and cookies and stuff like that as well. I haven't made them in a while, but I used to make peanut butter chocolate chip cookies, and Steve was nuts over those. He wouldn't even wait for me to get them baked and out of the oven. He had to eat my dough, and I would have to watch him because I'd say, Steve, he would get a great big giant spoon out of the silverware drawer. He'd be like, "Is this okay?" And he have a big old hunk of that cookie dough on there. I'd be like, Steve, that's probably 2.5 cookies you got there on that spoon. But anyways, so people have a lot of different favorite candies. And I try to make sure that I get a lot of the popular candies when I'm getting, trick or treat candy. And I fill bag after bag full of them and make each individual. I've got these biohazard bags that I put candy in to hand out to the kiddos. That way you don't have, sometimes some kids are a little shy and they'll barely take any. Then you got the next kid that comes and wants to take your whole bowl of candy. So I kind of nip that in the bud because I will fix up several bags that have one of each type of candy that I've gotten. And you guys can ask Steve about this. I buy $50 to $100 worth of candy every year at Halloween time. So I'll be sure not to run out because there were a couple of years where I ran out and I felt really bad and I had to turn off the porch light and close the door because I just didn't have anything. Or I would hand out little toys, little Halloween-like toys. But I don't like to run out of candy. So that learned me a lesson that, buy extra, and heck, if you don't give it all away, me and Steve got some candy for later. But anyway, Steve hates when I start buying Halloween candy, unless I buy a bunch of Reese cups and let him have it. So there's a lot of things about the month of October I like. I like the atmosphere, the scents, the stuff that I smell outside. Getting up in the morning and looking out my door and looking out the window and seeing that beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful to me than seeing a fall scene outside. I just absolutely love it. It turns on my happy button. It pushes my happy button, folks. That's what it does. And so one of the other parts about the month of October, and Steve does this. I don't know how many of y'all do this. I won't necessarily go this hardcore, but Steve will watch nothing but horror movies for the month of October. He won't watch any can't talk, comedies or dramas or action films or anything like that. No James Bond. And Steve loves James Bond. He usually saves James Bond for November. But he will watch nothing but horror films for the whole entire month of October. And I'm supposed to be getting a lot of new movies in come September 30th. Just in time for the Halloween watching season. But I have, a lot of my old standbys, my old reliables that I watch every year around this time. And some of that comes from nostalgia, because when I was a kid, every year around Halloween, and now we have like AMC's Fear Fest and stuff like that, but back in the day, I didn't have that kind of stuff. I had my television, and we had a channel back home called Channel 44. And Channel 44 would show basically the same set of movies every year around Halloween. But being the young horror fan that I was, I absolutely loved it. And so Halloween 2 was always on in October. Firestarter was usually on in October, Stephen King one. Friday the 13th Part 3. I don't know why they always show Friday the 13th Part 3, but it was always on. Silver Bullet, I believe, was another one. That's another Stephen King one that was shown. Now, granted, they were on TV and they were cut. But as a kid, I didn't know any better. I just thought, oh, wow, horror movies. It wasn't until the advent of my family getting a VCR that I discovered, oh, wow, look at all this stuff that was taken out for the TV broadcast. And to talk about that a little bit, when horror movies were put out for a television broadcast, back in the early days, they used to make two different versions or they would have TV edits. And the TV edits would have a lot of extra scenes. And those are really interesting to go back and take a look at. For Halloween 2, for instance, had a whole different ending if you actually watch the TV broadcast. If you ever wondered what happened to Jimmy, for instance, did Jimmy die or what, or did he live? Watch the TV broadcast version of Halloween 2. Right? Prom night. I was overjoyed when Steve found and downloaded the broadcast version of Prom night, because it had a lot of extra scenes in it. Scenes that I had not seen, because I never saw the broadcast of Prom night on television, but I think he had. And so he said, hey, Dana, I think you might find this interesting. So, for those of us that get kind of agitated when they cut stuff out on TV, think about it this way. You're almost like watching a whole new movie. There was a television broadcast of the original Halloween from 1978. that has extra scenes in it. And it's just it's almost like a time capsule of movie history or horror movie history for you. And so, you know, even now as an adult, I have those old standards, those standbys, those ones that really get me in the feels. And people probably think, you know, people that are not horror fans probably think, what in the heck are you talking about, Dana? How can horror films get you in the feels? It's all part of the atmosphere, though, folks. And I know those of you that watch a lot of my stuff on YouTube, you know that I'm a dyed in the wool horror fan from way back when. You know, I'm going to be 50 years old next year, folks. I've been watching horror films for a lot of years. And I know there's people older than me. Steve's a little bit older than me. He's been watching them longer than I have. But in my many years on this planet, I have consumed a lot of horror films, the good, the bad, the ugly, the hilarious, all of those things, right? So, you know, I'm gonna drag out 1978's Halloween. I'm gonna watch Halloween 2. I'm gonna watch Halloween 3. I'll be watching Halloween 4 and 5, even though me and John were just talking a little bit earlier about how bad the mask is. It doesn't change the fact that for the most part I enjoy the Halloween series. I really do. I won't watch the real new stuff, and I don't want to watch Rob Zombie stuff. No offense to Rob Zombie or anything, but I just, you know, I'd prefer to watch something original that Rob Zombie did, like House of a Thousand Corpses or something like that with his own brand of horror in it, than I would to see him do a remake. But I have other, you know, films that I enjoy around this time of the year, or the time of the year we're getting into. Haunted Wing, which I don't know how many of y'all, I have talked about it. But Haunted Wing was a regional horror film around my area. I mean, actually in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from my mom and dad's house. It's where my brother and my sister-in-law and my two nephews live now. It's the home of Western Kentucky University. And some scenes from Haunted Wing were actually filmed on the Western Kentucky University campus. So I think that's pretty cool. And the reason being is that the filmmakers, including the director Doug Robertson, who sadly passed away in the last few years, God rest his soul. But he was an alumni of Western Kentucky University, and a lot of the guys that worked in the film as actors worked behind the scenes. There were some people that were actors that also worked behind the scenes as well. But many, if not all of them, were Western Kentucky University alumni. So a lot of them had moved away, including Doug Robertson, and came back to film Haunted Wing. Is Haunted Wing like a blockbuster horror film? No. It's a very low budget thing, but it's got heart, folks. And I have to watch it every year. I absolutely love it. I even got Steve to do a commentary for it a few years back, which sadly, when one of Steve's hard drives went kaput, we lost it. But we still got the audio for it. And I have put it on the Deadites on Deck channel. But I need to put it back together with the movie for myself, for my own personal watching enjoyment. I can't do that and put it out on my YouTube channel because it would get me in trouble with the YouTube gods. That one is one I watch. Happy Hell Night is another one that does take place during the Halloween season. If you've never seen Happy Hell Night, or you haven't even heard of Happy Hell Night, please look this one up. I caught this one on satellite back in the day, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Is it a good film? No, it's not. But it's got a very creepy guy. This guy who was into some stuff that he shouldn't have been. And then when he died, these college students back in the 60s, and Darren McGavin's in this movie for a short time as well, folks. These college students in the 60s came and did some kind of ritual, and this guy came back from the dead and basically tore some of these college students apart. And the big thing about him is he is creepy as shit. He's got, it looks like black eyes, and he goes and he's really creepy looking, and he kills people, but before he kills them, he'll say things like, no sex, no TV, whatever you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. He'll say no about it, and then he'll kill your ass. Or he will say it after he kills your ass. So Happy Hell Night's a fun one to watch. You can, believe it or not, get that one on Blu-ray. In fact, I have it, and I'd be glad to show it to y'all. I have Haunted Wing on DVD. I actually got that from Doug Robertson back when he still had some that he was selling. But this Blu-ray here, and it's got Darren McGavin's name right on the front. There's that creepy ass guy I was talking about. But this is Happy Hell Night. And I don't know if y'all can see that very good, but there he is on the back there. Look at those eyes, man. There's Darren McGavin too. If y'all don't know who Darren McGavin is, of course, he was Coach Hack the Night Stalker back in the day, and he was the dad on A Christmas Story. I love Darren McGavin. So it says 25 years ago, he sold his soul to the devil. Now it's time to pay. So fun little movie, lots of good kills in it, and I would highly recommend it. Let me just run and go get Haunted Wing just so I can show you guys and gals that one too, because these are a couple of them that I don't think that people always think about when it comes to Halloween. I'll be right back. All right. So my birds have gotten stuff on my disc here. But this is the Haunted Wing DVD. This is the 20th anniversary edition. I got this directly from Doug Robertson, and I did not know that he would sign them for you, or I would ask him to sign it, because now unfortunately I can't do that. But I'm sure there are copies of this floating around on eBay or otherwise if you wanted to try to search for it. This is a fun little movie, and I'd recommend it, folks. Something else I wanted to show y'all. I know there are a lot of Peanuts fans out there, Charlie Brown fans. You're probably thinking, holy shit, Dana, why have you got a 4K of that? Well, I've also got a 4K of the Charlie Brown Christmas. But there are a lot of Charlie Brown seasonal little cartoon films that have been done. But two that I like in particular are It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Charlie Brown Christmas. And so when these came out on 4K, even though I'll be totally honest, folks, they're a little bit expensive for something that's maybe 20 2 minutes or so long, but they're still nice to have if you can't afford them. But otherwise, there are other ways to to watch these things. So without having to, shell out some of your hard-earned money. And I'm not going to detail them all here, but I'm sure you guys can guess what I'm talking about here. Now, there are other horror movies, a lot of which I talked about when me and Steve did our spooky selections stream not very long ago. So I'm not going to break down every single one of the films, but there are a lot of films that just give me that fall vibe. They're not necessarily centered around Halloween. Things like Phantasm or Alone in the Dark or, The Evil Dead, which is my favorite horror movie of all time. They don't call me the Evil Dead chick for nothing. But basically any horror movie you can watch at Halloween time. It doesn't have to have a Halloween theme, right, folks? If you like horror films. Now, if you don't like horror films, I mean, there are things like It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I mean, you don't have to be left out in the cold just because if you're not a horror fan, right? So let's talk about some other foods that are good this time of the year, especially when it starts getting a little bit cooler. One of my favorite things of all time is homemade chili, folks. I love me some chili, and I have a recipe for chili that I found when Steve and I were dating, and it's a recipe I still use now that we're married. And this recipe takes a whole container of chili powder, folks. I kid you not. And you probably think, good Lord, dang, you'll burn your lungs out. But no, really not. It's also got crushed red pepper in it. I mean, I think it's absolutely delicious. Now, I didn't come up with the recipe, somebody else did. But I found it online, and so um, I don't think it calls for fire roasted tomatoes. That's something that I've added over time because I love fire roasted tomatoes. But chili is something that, in addition to baking the bread, I love having chili and I'm wanting it to get cool and stay cool so heck, I'll get me some chili eventually anyway. I'm about to start asking Steve, next time I get groceries, you want me to get stuff to make chili? And he'll either, or he'll say, yeah, all right, let's get some. Or he'll say whatever you want to get. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of what kind of mood he's in. But which reminds me, I know we were getting into foods, but when I was talking about Happy Hell Night, it reminded me that this is going to be the second movie for the next Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest. The first movie is going to be the original Kevin Tenney directed Night of the Demons. So y'all can be thinking about that. I'm going to try to find links to both of these so that if you guys and gals don't own a copy of your own, you can watch it along with me in the comfort of your own home, the various other ways, right? So, was trying to think of some other foods. We've talked about the bread, we talked about the chili. This is a beverage. I like to get some apple cider. I love getting that stuff. Steve won't drink it, but I was an apple juice drinker when I was a kid. So I guess it kind of migrated to apple cider. And no, I don't put any booze in it. I suppose you could if you wanted to, but I just drink just regular garden variety apple cider when they get it out. I eat the various candy. But chili, I mean, chili is my big thing. I even cook chili on Halloween, or we'll cook it the day before Halloween and just have a big pot of it ready. Um, and, used to, I would make a lot of kind of gross looking stuff, but it tasted good. I would get the jello molds, the brain and the heart jello molds, and I would do that stuff. I made a dip and put it in a jello mold last year, or the year before. But something I learned about that was that you really need to freeze that somehow and make sure that it stays solid, because if you just do it regular and you just stick it in the refrigerator, it's just going to end up running all over your plate. So that was something I learned. So make sure that you freeze the cheese or whatever that you use to make the dip, or what did I use? Oh, I know what it was. It wasn't cheese. It was this Southwest bean dip. And it made a really good dip, but it came out looking like a brain. And it was really awesome when I took it out of the mold. Well, what happened is I put it in the refrigerator and it just kind of got loose and just kind of spread out over the plate. Steve looked at it. He was like, I don't look like a brain. And so I was like, well, maybe next time we need to freeze it. And then just let it naturally thaw a little bit. And then you can start dipping your chips in it. I make something called earwax wieners that I've made for years, which is you stick a toothpick, and you can stick a cotton ball on the end of the toothpick. But in years past, I have dispensed with doing that. But you can get the cocktail weenies, just a regular garden variety cocktail weenies. I usually get a pack or two of those. Brush them with butter, broil them until they're nice and done like you want. And then you mix up mustard and mayonnaise together. And folks, I know it sounds gross, and I don't like mustard by itself, but there's something about mixing that mustard with the mayonnaise and dipping these little cocktail weenies in it is just absolutely delicious. I even dip my chips in that stuff. So you guys and gals have probably heard me carry on about how I think mustard tastes like dirt and stuff like that. But with the mayonnaise, it's fine. And I've made something called a graveyard dessert, which is supposed to look like dirt. You get the Oreo cookies, and you mix up the chocolate pudding, and you have the Cool Whip and all that stuff, and it's just absolutely delicious. And you can even decorate it with little tombstones, put little gummy worms on it, whatever way you want to decorate the top of this dessert. It's really good. And I do punch every year. I do a tangy party punch. Now, I know there are a ton of different ways to make punch, folks. But the way I make it is the way my mom always made it. This is the type of punch that I grew up drinking at bridal showers and baby showers and what have you, that has the sherbet in it. You can either do rainbow sherbet or you can do orange sherbet, right? And, you've got your pineapple juice, you've got a little 7-Up, you've got, I think you've got orange juice in it as well. And you mix all this stuff up, and it is just absolutely delicious. Now, in years past, I have had some awful punch. But if I go by my own standby of the punch that my mom always made, and people in my family always made and brought to these baby showers and bridal showers and all that, along with those, I don't think they make the mints like this anymore, because I've tried to there used to be party mints. Well, I guess they're the butter mints. But you have to be really careful. The butter mints are hard to come by now. And I know I'm kind of getting way off topic, but talking about bridal showers and baby showers, we used to have not only that fantastic punch, but we had these daggone buttermints that were addictive as can be. At least for me, they were. And I love those daggone things. So if somebody knows where I can get those things, please let me know. So I've been on here a little over an hour. And I want to thank the people that popped in here to hear what good old Dana was talking about. I want to thank John and Candace and Uncle Bill for being in here tonight and kind of hanging out with me and keeping me company in the chat. I also want to thank people that will watch this on the replay. It is all appreciated. Every view is appreciated, whether you're in here when I'm doing it live or you watch it afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this anticipating October up. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Be sure to tune in on Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'm going to be talking about a day in September. And you got to tune in to see what that's all about, folks. So I hope you will join me then and join me for the programming I've got upcoming and beyond. And I hope you guys and gals have a wonderful rest of your Friday night. It is 10:11 right now. And get out there, blast some Aussie if you can, and try to live life the Aussie way. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, don't stay stuck in the past, folks. Live in the future, or I keep getting this wrong. Live in the present, into the future, and never, ever give up on your dreams. I love each and every one of you out there, and I'll see everybody next time.